these things are described. Even if you get a place that's right on the beach, a lot of these places have dense tropical gardens that sort of give the place a lot of privacy, and that means that you can't really set up instruments in the yard and look out over the ocean because there's probably some sort of foliage in the way. You'll still have to go through and set up on the beach. One very big area and one very easy area to observe from is the Cairns foreshore area. The first 18 minutes, as I was saying before, obscured by Cape Grafton over here, but apart from that, there's plenty of space on the promenade, good facilities. There'll be, if you want to go and have breakfast straight after the eclipse, there'll be lots and lots of cafes and things open there. So this is a very, very easy place to look from, but possibly the Cape itself pushes a bit more cloud into the Cairns area. So you might, if there is cloud around, this area might be a little bit more cloudy than further north. The foreshore is made up of a combination of concrete promenades or very grassy parkland areas. And there's lots and lots of space. This goes for, I think, 2 or 3 kilometres up along past different parts of the town. There are the northern beaches here, starting just north of the airport. There's a place called Macon's Beach, Holloway Beach, and then places like Yorkeys Knob here, Trinity Beach, and Palm Cove, and Clifton Beach up here. So these beaches in general have good aspect. Most of them look out to sea with an easy view to the eclipse, good facilities, public toilets. I mean, you've got to bear in mind you're going to be there, if you've got a large group of people, you're going to be there for 5 or 6 hours perhaps. So but you've got to look into this tide problem. Macon's Beach has a big flat area, but it's a bit stark and a bit boring in terms of, as a landscape. Holloway's Beach, a little bit the same, but it again has a very big flat area where people can set up. Yorkeys Knob is the first of that little cluster of beaches up in the north. It's a bit strange. It's got this. This is the knob here. This is the hill, and that's the hill up there. And then it's got this long rock wall, which you can see just there, that is well above the tide. And then the beach itself, and you need to. So that's Yorkeys Knob there. You need to be a bit careful about the tide on this beach here. It could come in quite a long way. You can see the high tide mark there is well up the beach. Now there's a really easy way to check this out, and that is the eclipse is on a Wednesday morning, and this high tide on the Wednesday morning is at 10 past 9 in the morning. At about 8:30 the morning before, there's another similarly high tide. So just once if you've chosen a location, go to the beach and just scope it out at 8:30 the morning before and see where the water lies. When Terry and I were there last year, November last year, there was one vacant block of land up on top of Yorkeys Knob. And so an enterprising eclipse chaser might try to go and set up there. It is private land, and so it's possible that you could get kicked off. I don't know who owns the land, whether it belongs to one of these houses here or if it's just a piece of vacant land. And if it is just vacant land, there's a good chance you could get away with setting up there. But there is some obscuration of the partial eclipse by this house. But the total eclipse should be pretty easy to see. Trinity Beach has a good aspect, but quite a steep beach profile. And the the high tide, I think, could come a fair way up this beach. Palm Cove has an excellent aspect. It has a big long beach. Now this part of the beach here may get inundated by high tide, but there's a higher section here. There's lots of benches and tables and things to set up on. This higher section here, and there's also this big long jetty here, which will give you quite a good view. The sun will rise somewhere about here, and rise up this way. So the whole eclipse will be visible from anywhere on the jetty. Ellis Beach is, I think, the only beach in that part of the coastline where the road hugs the steep cliffs. This is one of the few beaches. It's right at the beginning. It's just north of Palm Cove, and there's quite a bit of room on there, and a good bit of parking as well. This is that lookout that I showed you in that earlier photo. The photo that I've just got there was taken from that spot there. And it has an excellent view. It has limited parking and limited space for people, but the space will be taken care of by the fact that there's limited parking. So there's only room for about maybe 40 vehicles to park, and they can only carry so many people. Oak Beach could be thought of as prime observing location because it's right on the centre line, but if you look at this high tide mark here, this was made by just a 1.8 metre high tide a few hours before I took this photo. So there's a tide pole on Oak Beach, and this is the 2.8 metre mark, and I've got my camera at 2.8 metres, so it sort of shows where the tide will come up to. And you can see that if you have to locate yourself up on this edge here, you're going to have all these coconut trees at your back, no view to the west to see the approaching shadow. I don't think this is a very good location at all. Port Douglas has a big long beach called 4 Mile Beach that runs right down the length of the peninsula. It has, like Yorkeys Knob, a big tall hill at the north end of it, and this is a public lookout and public land, and you can just walk up this pathway here and watch the eclipse from up high or down on the beach. Again, the beach has a low profile, and in fact a local guide told me that when there's a high tide like that, waves can wash not right up the beach but actually into the car park. So that's sort of a rough line on the beach where the tide could well reach. All along the Captain Cook Highway and on roads that come off it, there's lots and lots of farmland. And in Australia, there's a certain amount of leeway either side of a road that is still public land. So you can set up there and nobody can tell you to get off. In this picture here, I'm trespassing by parking my car here. This is the area here that is public land, road verge, and set up there. And these fields, if they're not planted, the trees in the distance are very, very low, and there's lots and lots of space like that all around the Smithfield area, about 20 kilometres north of Cairns, and all around the Port Douglas area in all the agricultural fields. There's a lot of world-class tourist attractions in the Cairns region. That's why there's such a big tourist infrastructure there. The Barrier Reef, there are some maybe 100 to 200 dive boat operators that operate in the area. These pictures here were taken by Bengt Alfredson in 2007, and they are on a reef called Agincourt Reef, which is about 75 kilometres northeast of Port Douglas. and it's the pristine reef. The only, I think, 2 operators are licensed to work there. Their boats have to meet very highest environmental standards, and so they want to keep this reef pristine. As such, if you can get, if you want to go out to the reef, this is the place to go because the water out there is crystal clear. Daintree Rainforest is located about 75 kilometres north of Cairns. It's a relatively easy day trip, and there's 2 parts to that. There's the rainforest itself, which is accessed via a ferry, and a 2-wheel drive vehicle can travel all through there. The cost is only about $25 per vehicle, and the Daintree River is a small village where you can take cruises to look at wildlife and crocodiles. Mossman Gorge is very close to Port Douglas, and I think it's free to get in there. If it's not free, it's very, very cheap. And it's beautiful swimming holes, great walks, suspension bridges over gorges, rapids. And then finally there's the Atherton Tablelands. There's excellent day drives there, waterfalls, picnic areas, lakes. It's a beautiful area. And I think Terry is going to talk a little bit more about that. I'm being given the hurry up, so I'll just go forward, and it's over to you, Terry.
Thank you.
You got to